September 25th of 2015 is the day I took suicide off the table as an option for me forever. I was in an abusive marriage, and I was just like, this can't be happening. This cannot be my life. Luckily, I was able to get out. If you are listening and you are in an abusive situation, there is nothing worth risking your life for staying. I'm 100% sure that when I got that call, if I had not done the work and had those people around me, I would not be here today. I know that everything we want in life is not going to be in our comfort zone. If you really want to have the life that we were meant to have, you have to step out of that box. And it's hard and it's scary. And I have been let down by more people than I can probably count, more people than I even remember.
Tell me your story and what you do, Sam.
Well, thank you, Emma, for having me. I am excited to be here, and you may notice my voice sounds a little different than yours. And so I love how we're able to chat with people all over the world and different parts of um, it's just amazing to me how we were talking a minute ago about how connected we can be with people all over the world. And so getting to share our story is one of the most powerful things I think we get to do. And to be able to use platforms like this is really important. So thank you for having me. Um,
Absolutely.
so my story is probably similar to a lot of the people listening. You're going through life, things are kind of happening, and then one day you wake up and you're like, uh-oh, something's wrong. Like, this is not what I thought I was going to be doing. And addiction and life happens in ways that you don't even expect or think could happen to you, and then it does. And so I went on a journey. March 8th of 2015 is the day I drew a line in the sand and said, I'm not doing this anymore. Didn't know what that meant, didn't know what it looked like, didn't know what was going to happen. But what on my journey, what I recognized is that I was dealing with self-hate. And you can't have a life you were meant to have if you don't like yourself, and or you're not even really attached to being alive. And so it's like, if I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not, you know, no big deal. And so on this journey, what I recognized was that so many of us are going through something, and it doesn't have to be addiction. It could be your kiddos get in trouble for something, or a death, or a divorce, or domestic violence, or um, you lose a job, or any of those things. And so what I believe is that we're stronger together. And so I created an online community called Safe Heart Connections. It's for women who are working on learning to love ourselves more fully. And by default, we get to have the life that we were meant to have. So that's how I help in the world. And um, my journey has been windy. It's not been like a straight line. Like for most people in recovery, it's like you think you're going to go like this, and it's going to be like, I'm doing good, I'm right on my track, and then you go bloop. You have to go back up and down for sure.
Those are great times though. They might not feel it at the time, but you learn so much, and they are a blessing even if they don't feel like them at the time, because they give you so many more tools and build your resilience. So they are
Yeah.
times to be embraced even if they don't feel like it at all.
Yeah, I agree. And it gives you an opportunity when you do have one of those bumps in the road to determine, are you really going to do this thing? Are you really going to do what you said you wanted to do? And are you going to use the tools that you already had? Like as going through the recovery journey, you get new tools. When something happens, then you have an opportunity to use them or not, and then go back and have to learn that lesson again.
I've learned my lesson several times over. It took me a while to learn, but it's taught me so much more. Um, and I found it really interesting when you said, because I was talking to a lady earlier, and we were sort of saying there just comes a point and you just know that, like you said, draw a line and something's got to change, something's got to happen. You might not know what it is. Um, but you just know, you get that, I don't know if it's motivation or just a feeling. There's just something. Can you trace it back to something that gave you that oomph? Or
Yeah. So for me, I had been married and divorced multiple times. Each time it got worse. And the last marriage that I was in, and before now, I'm actually very happily remarried now, thankfully. But before, um, uh, March 8th of 2015, I was recognizing that I was going to be getting divorced again. And that this time it was going to be an act of self preservation to save my life. I was in an abusive marriage and it was not okay. And when I woke, I was just like, this can't be happening. This cannot be my life. And I'm like, that's why I'm like, I don't know what it's going to be, but this is not it. And luckily, I was able to get out. And I know a lot of women that don't, or they stay because they think they have to, or there's a million different reasons. And if you are listening and you are in an abusive situation, there is nothing worth risking your life for staying and finding a safe place or people to talk to that can help you. That there's all kinds of resources out there for men and women. I know that a lot of times the men get the bad rap about the abusive situation, but women do that to men as well. And so there's no shame in asking for help and trying to do this on your own. I can tell you for sure the times I got in trouble in my life were the times that I was trying to do it on my own. So we really need each other.
absolutely. And I think that's one of the strongest things that you can do. And the biggest step is just asking for help. And I've spoken before and said sometimes we haven't got the words or know how to ask for help. But if we're part of a community like yours, we can listen to other people and just interact, and then we sort of get that feeling and know and start feeling safe to trust and then ask for help. It doesn't have to be, this is me, this is my story, help,
Yeah.
it can ease in.
Yes.
It's
Yeah. That's a really great point because especially if you're in a trauma state or you're dealing with your own addiction or a kiddo's addiction or some other situation, a lot of times it's really kind of embarrassing. You feel like it's embarrassing. You feel like you're the only person that's ever gone through this. Nobody's going to understand. And I just believe that's just a lie. Um, you are definitely not alone. Somebody else has and probably is going through it, the same type of thing, maybe not exactly the same, but whenever you build community and you build a core group of people, not everybody has to know, but a few people need to know. And when you build that core group of people that you can be real with and do life with, they're going to be able to speak into you because they know you. They'll be able to see the patterns. They'll be able to see kind of what's happening. And even before you say it, they may notice. But that's only if you're being real with them. And if you are like me and I didn't have any real friendships because I didn't like myself. Why would I think anybody else would? It was all very surface level. I was the girl known for smiling. Like I smile. I owned a company back in the day called Smiles by Sam. It was a handmade greeting card, and I put smile on everything. And I was known as a smile girl, but it was all a lie. It was all a lie. And so now when I write smile or I do something that has smile on it, and I get teased a lot of times, it's like, she's the one that says smile all the time instead of using the emoji. Well, I don't use a lot of emojis because I don't know what most of them mean, but the smile one is I type it out on purpose to remember that my smile is real now.
wow, that's powerful. And I think that is a great reminder that of how far you've come as well. It's and having those little things in life, are really powerful, just to remind yourself how far you've come, how strong you are, and what you've been through. Because those things, I've just happened to look away, and I've just seen all my stickers.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, you're
it's
smart. Yeah, I
yeah.
saw them for just a second. They're smiley face stickers. That's funny.
Um, yeah, but yeah, I think we can all find something just to, because I remember when I was in recovery, I went through rehab a few times and I did a poster. I think it was the second time I went in saying, Emma, just remember how bad it got.
Mm.
As a reminder to me and down the road, just how awful that time was. But I didn't display the poster. And I thought, as ill and frightened and everything as I felt, I did start to forget how bad I was, how I was feeling, how ill I was, how near death's door I was. When my confidence grew, I started because I still hadn't worked on myself at that time.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
was sober, I was living life. But because everything was going well, I was forgetting how bad it was. And I needed that reminder. So I
Yeah.
think having a reminder is a really good idea. And it doesn't matter what it is, you'll know what it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. One of the things that I like to help the women do, and I host a virtual, I'm doing it 3 or 4 times this year for a very low cost where women can come for a 1 day, I'm calling it self-love retreat. And basically, it is, I take them through a process to know who they are, what matters to them, and what it's going to cost them if they don't show up in the world the way they say they want to. And then they have some action steps to actually implement what they've learned during that 1 day. And it's really powerful when you know the cost of what it's going to cost you and the world if you don't show up the way that you were meant to. And just for like you going through life and dealing with recovery issues, you're showing up in a very different way now. You're making an impact in the world, helping people in ways you may not even recognize. And what if you weren't doing this? Who would miss out on the light of what you're sharing into the world? And the cost is more than just us. I promise you, it's more than just me. But even if it was just me impacting my life, it would be worth it. And I tell my ladies, if you want to change the world, start with you, because when you do that, the ripples that go out, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it certainly is lovely to see. And tell me why I'm thinking along the lines, because we've spoken a lot about it, community. Community is so important. And I know through things like abuse, addiction, anything that we like to shut ourselves away, don't we? And that's the last thing we want to be part
Isolation.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's safe
Isolation is
there.
amazing.
Mm,
There's no expectations, there's no judgment, there's no responsibility to anybody else. It's it's safe.
yeah,
It's safe. And I know that everything we want in life is not going to be in our comfort zone. It's not going to be in that safe little cocoon. If you really want to have the life that we were meant to have, you have to step out of that box. And it's hard and it's scary. And I have been let down by more people than I can probably count, more people than I even remember, people that I thought were in my corner and then life got hard and they bailed. I mean, it's just, and it's not, I'm not unique in that way. It happens to all of us. And so I have a really powerful story in that as I started my healing journey, I did build a community around me. Safe Heart Connections is part of that. I also have people from the different trainings and stuff that I've been part of. And 20 September 25th of 2015 is the day I took suicide off the table as an option for me forever. And in July of 2017, something happened in my world that was the worst thing I've ever been through. And it didn't happen to me, it happened to someone I love. And they, like, you hear people talking about, like, they have a train wreck in their life. Well, sometimes it's your train wreck, and sometimes you're just a passenger on the train. Well, July of 2017, I was a passenger on that train. And I'm 100% sure that when I got that call, if I had not done the work and had those people around me, I would not be here today. And as a part of that process, there was a small group of people that I really wanted to have hold space for me. I needed to share what happened, and we got together at one of the girls' houses, and I told them what all had happened, and we're all crying, and it was, I mean, not just like a little, I mean, it was snot crying. It was bad. It was a lot. And I wanted to mark that moment, um, because what I didn't realize was happening in that moment until way later was I had trusted another group of people with my truth, and they didn't leave. They didn't leave. And that's what's on the other side. That's what's on the other side of getting out of that little safety zone. And so I wanted to take a picture to remember, but like I said, we were all ugly crying, and something somehow God gave me the ability. We stacked our hands together and took a picture of our hands, and so they were the hands that carried me through that time. And I use that analogy and that story a lot in what I teach, because sometimes you're going to need the hands, and sometimes you're going to be the hands. And the only way that happens, I just don't know how people get through life on their own anymore. And that's the way I lived before. So I know, I see it, but it's so much better. And yes, it's risky. Um, but when you do it, I believe that the right people are going to come around you and be able to be part of that community for you. I know they have been for me.
That is such a beautiful story. I got goosebumps just and saying you didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, that trust, and trust is a really scary thing, isn't it? And but to be able to do that, and as you said, they didn't leave you, is such a special thing, and it shows the growth in you. It shows how strong that they are as well, and as a group, how powerful are we when we all come together and support each
Yeah,
other?
yeah,
It's a
it,
beautiful thing.
it really is. Yeah. And, you know, when I would just say, if somebody's listening or watching or however they're consuming this, to know that if you have been hurt by people in the past, I'm, I'm standing with you. We're all standing with you. Um, and you don't have to share your truth with everybody, but I would challenge you, I would encourage you, find one person that maybe you could tell just a little bit of your story to. Test it. You don't have to say the whole thing, but just test it. And if you're in the recovery space and you're doing a program, you've got a sponsor, you've got accountability people, and that's the way those programs are structured on purpose, so that we're not doing it alone. They're building community into it to where you can have the trust to be able to reach out to people. So I would just encourage you, give it a try. One little thing, just a little bit. You can do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And we do sometimes we think we are that strong, don't we? And we might feel it, but then something will happen and we think, oh, no, I'm not quite that strong, which is not a negative thing. It's not a failure. It's humans are social beings and we thrive on love and community, even when we don't feel it. So, yeah. And I think there's the proof in does everything that you said.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
so in Safe Heart Connections is just for women. because that's who I feel like I'm called to work with. But men need this stuff too. Men need the connection. And I think women are designed more like we do it more naturally. Like, back in the days, like all the women would go together and wash their clothes together and do all the things. Like we were built for that, but the men go off to fight and do whatever they're doing. And sometimes the guys think that they don't need community, but I think that's probably a pretty good indicator of why more men commit suicide than women. So guys, this is for you too.
Absolutely, very. I was speaking to a gentleman on the podcast. He works with males and grief, and it was a great conversation. And it's brilliant that we have people again like him in the world, because male suicide is the rate is so high, and it really needs a stigma, like addiction, like domestic abuse. It's something that needs highlighting and bringing out in the world, because it's not shameful. It can happen to anyone. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
great point. And when was it you decided community was the best route to go? When did you start building your community?
Almost immediately. Almost immediately. And it was pretty interesting because before I went on my healing journey, I did not like women at all. Like they were cranky, they were mean, they were judgmental, they were harsh, they were like catty. There were all these things. And what I recognized was two things. One, God has a sense of humor to call me to work with women. Number two, the other thing is that the women that were showing, women are not like all, there are some women that are like those things I said, but they're not all like that. Those types of women were showing up in my world because of how I was showing up. And now that I show up in a different way, it's amazing. I have all these really great women in my life. And yeah, it's amazing how we show up really does create the people that come around us.
Absolutely. I completely identify. I was exactly the same. And when I was 19, I was a prison officer, and I was over the moon when I got the job. And then I found out I was working in a women's prison, and I nearly turned the job down. I thought, I can't be doing with all that bitchiness, all those holding grudges. I want to go to a male prison where they just have a fight, get it over and done with, and move on with life.
Oh yeah.
And that
They
was,
say they say one thing to your face and something different to everybody else. Yes. Yeah.
and as you said, now after the work on myself, all the women that I attract in my life have said exactly the same thing, and we're all really close. And we were all never thought we would be doing working with women, but now I run a women's networking group. Never thought I'd be doing that, and I've been so lucky to attract some great women.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I completely get that.
It's very funny. Yeah, it's looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, God is cute.
Yes. It does have some things in store for us, doesn't he, along the way? And tell me everything else about your business and how you work. And
Yeah. So Safe Heart Connections, my heart is that it will always be free. The base of the community is free. Any woman can join. I have women in the community that have been with me for years that have never paid me a penny, and that is 100% okay with me. I do have, for some women, it makes sense. They're wanting to step in a little bit more. And I have something that's a 10-week online course called the Self Love Makeover. I have a smaller, I have something I call the Love Your Journey, a self-love starter pack that's like $37 just to get people, see if this is something they want to do. And then I host events um, almost every month. I have something going on. But there are four main events a year. One is an in-person retreat that I do in the United States. Currently, I'm actually considering doing something more of a going out of the country to like Costa Rica or Peru or something in the near future, but not this year, probably not next year, but soon. And then I do a virtual retreat in the fall. And so anybody like can come for that. And it is virtual and it does feel like a retreat the way I set it up. And then I do 2 virtual summits a year. And the women that are in Safe Heart Connections can access the information in these summits without having to pay anything. There are VIP upgrades if they want to do that, but I want to keep it to where if a woman wants to begin or continue her journey of learning who she is and how to create a life that she loves, that money is not going to be the reason that happens. I do have a mastermind for women that are coaches, and it's for a more select group. And the reason I do this is what I have found is that these women that are coaches specifically, we pour out and pour out and pour out, and we forget, oh, wait, we have to take care of ourselves, right? And so it's set up as a mastermind so that we can talk about business things. We're all kind of in the same space. And, but the 2 events, the virtual summits each year, they are some of my highlighted guest speakers, and they don't have to pay extra for that. But the 2 in-person retreats, they come to receive so that they're reminded to keep their cup full. The analogy that I use is I teach women, whether they're in my mastermind or just in the community or in the world, to keep your cup so full to the overflow that it spills out to the saucer. And you give out of the saucer of your life to where you can give in kind, generous, loving ways without depleting yourself. And so the mastermind really helps the women grow their business and keep their cup full.
I love that. What a great analogy. I learned so much. I'm just loving these podcasts. I'm just the luckiest person to speak to such amazing people.
Oh,
That's
you're so
amazing,
kind.
Sam. Oh
Thank
no,
you.
it really is. So I will have to get all of your information and put it, well, I will put it on the podcast, but I want to sign up. I've seen that you've sent me emails and things. I haven't quite had
Yeah.
time to look through them all. So I know that you're really engaged with people, which is really, really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a special thing to do. So where do you think you've said that you want to try and keep it free and everything? Where do you think this is going to take you? For you on a
Yeah.
personal level, I'm thinking for
Yeah.
you.
Well, so I was on a podcast recently and she asked a similar question, not the exact same, but similar in that, like, when I look at my life and I think of where I was to where I am, personally, Safe Heart Connections helps me continue on this path of keeping my cup full. And knowing that um, I've dealt with self-hate for like my whole life until until 10 years ago. Um, and I know how recovery works and addiction works, and things happen that sometimes it could be one thing and it sends you back. And so I don't believe you're ever starting over at ground zero because you're starting over with the new things that you've learned and the tools like we talked about. But I'm just very mindful that I know what's working to help keep me in tune with myself and continuing to grow. I think they say that you teach what you need. And so I'm teaching to know who you are. That once you go on this journey, it's not like a one and done thing. And when someone joins my community, the first question I ask them is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you love yourself? And I'll have some people say really low numbers or really high numbers. The number isn't the issue. Being aware of where you're at is the issue. And whether you're beginning or continuing, now you know how to be intentional about creating a life you love. And I believe there's two things that you need to really do this, and neither of them have to cost anything. The first one is gratitude. I believe gratitude is the powerhouse of creating a life you love, and it costs $0. The second one is knowing who you are, figuring out what you like, what you don't like. For so many of us, we've just gone through life and we've done the things that other people did. We weren't sure what we really preferred. And now, like, I'm still on a journey of figuring out what I like and what I don't like. And from silly things like paper planners and sticky notes and things that like make my brain work better and how I can function. And it's been several months ago now, but I realized I actually like iced coffee more than hot coffee unless it's cold outside. And
Yeah.
I'd always just done hot coffee because that's what you did, right? Every like morning you get your coffee. Well, and now I'm like, wait a minute. And so um it's a journey to continue on. And by me hosting Safe Heart Connections, I don't call myself a coach. I do some light coaching, but it's really more about, I call myself the community host and the founder. I want to take women on this journey. And it's kind of like I'm on the journey. I'm like, hey, come with me. And that's more what it's about. And so it keeps me on the track of creating a life I love.
I love that. In You're an inspiration. You are that it's something that women need and don't necessarily realize that they need it. And you saying there about realizing that you like diced coffee.
Yeah.
I remember the day I found mochas. Like somebody bought me a mocha by mistake. I was like, oh, okay. And then it was like, wow. You know? And it's the same in life. We stumble across these things and realize that they're good for us, or it can help us, or change the way we look at life. And my recovery journey in addiction, that there's a lot of whatever of some people say that they're recovered or they're in recovery or they're an ex-addict. I'll always be in recovery because I'm always developing and learning and changing. And I learn new things about myself all the time. And that's so important. And I might not like some of those new things I learn about me, but I can find them to work to my advantage.
Yeah, it's just like the scale of 1 to 10. When you learn something new, if you learn it and you don't have judgment around it, then you can say, okay, this is what I learned. Now what do I do to create, either move forward or away from that thing? And it doesn't have to be, it's just an observation. I
Yeah.
tell people I don't make judgments. I do make lots of observations though.
Yeah. And I recently bought a pair, and it sounds so daft. I bought a pair of really flared jeans. They're like this, they're massive. And I'm only 5'2". I'm only short, and they look massive. And I thought, I like these. And my husband looked at me and he went, you're gonna take off in them. I went, I don't care. I'm happy. And it felt good just to say, I don't care. I'm happy. And now I've worn them a few times. He said, I really like you in those jeans. I went, yeah, I like them
Oh,
too.
of
You
course you
know?
do. And you
Yeah.
know why he likes you in them? Because you like you in them. Because you carry yourself different whenever it's something you like. When you feel comfortable, everybody else around you is going to feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so important, isn't it? We follow the social norms and do what we think we're expected to do instead of branching out and testing things and trying it. Because I'm sure
Mhm.
if everybody turned around to
Yeah.
me and said, Emma, you look ridiculous, I would have stopped wearing them. You know? But it was a big change for me and I embraced it and loved it.
Yeah. Well, so I had a phase of several years ago where I was doing false eyelashes, like the
Oh yeah.
glue magnet ones, and because I love eyelashes, I don't wear a ton of makeup, and I did that, and I loved them, but I was struggling because I could never get them quite right. But I have really sensitive skin, so I didn't want to go and have them do the things because I thought then I would be the one that my eyes would swell shut, and um, so I experimented with them, and I found a few I liked, but then eventually it was just like, okay, this is just isn't working for me, so I stopped doing it. But now I look back on the pictures of me with these big giant eyelashes and I'm like, what was I thinking? So I call that my eyelash phase. And all my friends, some of them would be like, those are a little much. Do you like them? I'm like, I like them. So they're like, okay. And so they supported me, which was cool. But I'm like, yeah, I think my eyelashes were different than your flared jeans because I don't, yeah. Looking back, that was not my best idea. But I wasn't afraid to try it and figure it out for myself, which is
Absolutely.
a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's great. I haven't got the patience for them. But I
Yeah.
do get jealous when I see them on the pictures.
I do. Yeah. I love good eyelashes. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So,
Fab. Tell me where we can find you, and because you mentioned your
yeah.
community, what
Yeah.
platforms are you on and where can people find you?
So my school is where Safe Heart Connections is. So it's skool.com/ Safe Heart Connections will take you right there. I do have safeheartconnections.com, has a little bit of information about me. But when you click sign up, it's going to take you straight to school. So whatever's easier. I am working on growing my YouTube channel, and it's Sam Morrison Wilson is the name on that one. But, for the women that are watching, come check us out. I mean, it's free. You're not going to be pressured to do anything you don't want to. I do have, when someone joins, um, there's different levels in school. I'm not sure if you're from. So you first come in, you're a wallflower, and that's okay. Wallflowers are not bad. They're just checking out the room, seeing if it's a good fit. And if it is, then participate. If it's not, you can leave. But what I have found is if I can get a woman to come into Safe Heart Connections and go through, I have a 17-minute start here module that shows you how to use the platform, how to get the most out of the community. If I get a woman to go through that within the first couple of weeks of her being in the community, they stay, they participate at whatever level makes sense. And I've seen some real connections be made, um, of people that are now connecting outside of the platform. And one woman actually lives in the United States, and another woman lives in Germany. And the woman in the United States went to Germany, and they met up in person. And I'm like, I have to have a photo of that, y'all. It was so good.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. The power of connection and friendships. I mean, since I moved from England to South Wales just as we went into lockdown.
Mm,
So and I was working all the hours, so I didn't know many people where I am now. So all my friendships then were built over courses that I had done and communities online, being like the Zoom sort of era or time. And even as small as the UK is, I've got so many close people now that I haven't met in person, but they haven't thought twice about ringing me when they've needed support, and I haven't
yes. Yes.
felt twice about reaching out to them, and they've been amazing. And I look forward to that day when I meet them face to face. And it's quite amazing how I was speaking to somebody on a podcast in America a couple of weeks ago. They're coming to the UK soon,
Oh,
and we're planning on meeting. But my friend that's probably about 4 hours away, we've still never met and got no plans to. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's absolutely wonderful what we can do now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, thank you for having me. And I actually do micro interviews in my community. I would love to do a short little interview with you and share you with my world, because what I know is that um, more people are dealing with recovery issues than we know about, because so many of them don't talk about it still. And so the women in my community may not be the ones dealing with recovery, or maybe they are. I don't know. But I can guarantee you somebody in their life is. So I would love to share you with my people as well.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah, I would love to. And of course, if you've got a loved one in recovery, it could be a lonely place for yourself and not knowing how to deal with it. Or so yeah, I've been on both sides. So yeah, it would be an absolute pleasure.
I'll get you the information for sure.
Thank you so much, Sam. And I just I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. And as I said, I meet wonderful people, and what you've created is very inspirational. And I thank you for
Thank
that.
you. Oh, it has been my pleasure for sure to connect with you and to be on this journey. I still look back and think, going from March 8th of 2015 of this shit's not going to work to, oh my gosh, this is my life. I mean, it's amazing.
Proof is
So,
there.
yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sam.